The United States operates the world's most powerful military, with a defense budget exceeding $850 billion annually, more than the next 10 countries combined, and over 1.3 million active personnel deployed across every continent, with bases in 80 countries. This isn't a question of whether America has the capability to invade anywhere on Earth. It's whether any nation possesses the military strength to actually stop them once the decision is made. This is every major weapon system operated by the United States Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, Space Force, and Coast Guard. The complete arsenal that makes America the only true global military superpower. We start with the platforms that would establish dominance before a single boot touches foreign soil. Aircraft carriers. Gerald R. Ford class. The newest supercarrier on the planet represents 75 years of carrier aviation evolution compressed into one hull. Electromagnetic catapults replace steam systems that have launched aircraft since World War II. Advanced nuclear reactors generate enough electrical power to run a city of 100,000 people. The electromagnetic aircraft launch system can throw a $50 00-pound fighter from 0 to 150 miles per hour in 2 seconds. And it does this hundreds of times per day, without the maintenance nightmare of steam catapults. Each Ford-class carrier operates with 700 fewer crew members than a Nimitz, while carrying more aircraft, more ammunition, and more fuel. The USS Gerald R. Ford, USS John F. Kennedy under construction, and USS Enterprise being built represent the cutting edge of power projection. Floating air bases that can park off any coastline and establish air superiority before the enemy realizes the war has started. Nimitz class. These nuclear-powered giants have been the backbone of American naval power since the 1970s, and they're still more capable than any carrier operated by any other nation. 10 ships carrying 90 aircraft each, operating for 25 years without refueling, projecting American air power anywhere on Earth within days of orders being issued. The USS Nimitz launched strikes in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and Libya. The USS Carl Vinson operated in the South China Sea, making China's claims of territorial waters look like suggestions. These carriers don't just win wars, they prevent them by existing. When a Nimitz-class carrier battle group shows up off your coast, you're not fighting America's military, you're fighting a floating nation with more firepower than most countries possess in their entire arsenal. America class. The Marines wanted amphibious assault ships that could function as light carriers for F-35Bs while still hauling enough Marines to take hostile beaches. The America class delivers exactly that capability. Mini carriers that sacrifice well-deck space for additional aviation capacity. These aren't trying to replace supercarriers. They're providing distributed aviation that spreads American air power across more hulls, making it impossible for enemies to track and target every platform simultaneously. The USS America and USS Tripoli can operate independently or as part of larger battle groups, giving commanders flexibility that no other navy in human history has ever possessed. Wasp class. These amphibious assault ships have been doing everything from launching Harrier jump jets to deploying hovercraft full of Marines, to providing disaster relief after hurricanes. The Wasp class proved that one platform can handle multiple missions: aviation, amphibious assault, humanitarian operations, without compromising effectiveness in any role. 8 ships that have seen combat in every major American conflict since the 1980s, each one a self-contained military force capable of independent operations. Moving on to what makes carriers relevant: the aircraft they launch. F-35C Lightning II. The carrier variant of America's 5th-generation stealth fighter brings low observable technology to naval aviation for the first time in history. Carrier air wings have operated the same basic concept since World War II. Fighters that everyone can see, dropping bombs on targets that shoot back. The F-35C changes everything by making detection nearly impossible until weapons are already in flight. Advanced sensors let pilots see the entire battlespace before enemies know American aircraft are airborne. These aren't replacing legacy fighters yet, but every carrier air wing is integrating F-35Cs because stealth and sensor fusion create advantages that can't be matched with raw performance. F-18EF Super Hornet. The workhorse strike fighter that currently dominates carrier flight decks because it does everything the Navy needs: air superiority, ground attack, reconnaissance, aerial refueling, electronic warfare. The Super Hornet isn't stealthy, it's not supersonic for extended periods, but it's reliable, maintainable, and lethal across multiple mission sets. Carrier air wings trust these because they work every time, in every condition, against any target. EA-18G Growler. The electronic warfare variant that doesn't carry bombs. It carries jamming pods that make enemy air defenses useless. The Growler protects strike packages by disrupting radar, communications, and targeting systems from standoff range. When Growlers are airborne, enemy surface-to-air missiles fire at ghosts, while real American aircraft slip through the chaos and destroy their targets. No other navy operates dedicated carrier-based electronic attack aircraft. America has squadrons of them. E-2D Advanced Hawkeye, the flying radar station that sees everything within 300 miles and coordinates the entire carrier air wing. These don't fight. They manage the battle from 25,000 feet with radar so powerful it tracks cruise missiles, stealth aircraft, and surface ships simultaneously. The Hawkeye makes carrier aviation possible by turning individual aircraft into networked weapons platforms that share information in real time. CMV 22B Osprey. The tilt rotor that replaced the C2 Greyhound for carrier onboard delivery brings vertical landing capability to logistics. These carry cargo, personnel, and critical parts from shore bases to carriers at sea, keeping a fleet supplied without depending on helicopters with limited range and payload. MH-600R Telos Seahawk. The multi-mission helicopter that hunts submarines, conducts search and rescue, moves supplies between ships, and provides armed reconnaissance. Every destroyer and cruiser carries at least one Seahawk because the missions these helicopters perform, anti-submarine warfare, surface search, logistics, can't be done by fixed-wing aircraft. Moving on to the surface combatants that protect carriers and project power independently. Zumwalt class. The stealth destroyer that tried to revolutionize surface warfare with wave-piercing hull design, integrated electric propulsion, and advanced gun systems that would rain precision fire from 100 miles offshore. When the ammunition turned out to cost nearly $1 million per round, the Navy pivoted to installing hypersonic missiles instead. Only 3 were built. USS Zumwalt, USS Lyndon B. Johnson, making them the rarest warships in the fleet. These represent bold thinking about future naval combat even if the execution didn't match the vision. But a stealth destroyer carrying hypersonic weapons is still a capability no other Navy possesses. Arleigh Burke class. The destroyer that became America's most numerous surface combatant, because the design simply works. From Flight 1 ships built in the 90s to the latest Flight 3 variants with upgraded radar and missile defense capability, Burkes handle air defense, anti-submarine warfare, surface combat, and land attack with equal competence. 73 ships in service with more under construction, each one carrying 90-plus vertical launch cells filled with missiles that can intercept aircraft, destroy ships, or strike land targets hundreds of miles inland. When America needs destroyers that can operate anywhere and do anything, Arleigh Burkes get the call. Ticonderoga class. The guided missile cruisers that brought the Aegis combat system to sea and changed naval warfare forever. These can track hundreds of targets simultaneously and coordinate entire battle groups. With 122 vertical launch cells each, Ticonderogas carry more missiles than most navies have in their entire fleet. These are old. The newest is over 25 years old, but they remain the most capable air defense platforms afloat until newer ships can replace them. Constellation class. The new guided missile frigate designed to fill the gap between small littoral combat ships and large destroyers. With 32 vertical launch cells and sophisticated sensors, these provide air defense and anti-submarine capability in a more affordable package than building additional destroyers. The first ship is under construction, with 20 planned, representing the Navy's bet that distributed lethality across more hulls creates advantages that concentrating firepower on fewer ships can't match. Freedom and Independence class. The littoral combat ships that were supposed to revolutionize naval warfare with modular mission packages and high speed in shallow coastal waters. Reality delivered ships that are lightly armed, mechanically unreliable, and struggling to find a role in high-end conflict. Some are being converted to dedicated mine warfare vessels because that mission turned out to be more urgent than anyone wanted to admit. These represent expensive lessons in what happens when revolutionary concepts meet budget constraints and strategic uncertainty. Moving on to the submarines that would establish undersea dominance before surface ships arrive. Virginia class. The attack submarine designed for a world where threats come from multiple directions simultaneously. These bring advanced sonar that hears everything, vertical launch tubes for Tomahawk missiles, special operations capability that lets SEALs deploy from submerged submarines, and modular construction that allows the Navy to adapt them for missions that don't exist yet. 21 in service with more under construction, representing the most capable attack submarines ever built. When Virginia-class boats are in the area, enemy surface ships and submarines operate knowing they're being tracked by platforms they can't detect. Seawolf class. Only 3 were built because the Cold War ended, and nobody wanted to pay for the most expensive attack submarines in history. The Seawolves dive deeper, run quieter, and carry more weapons than anything else underwater. These represent the absolute peak of what's possible in submarine technology, even if America couldn't afford more than 3. When missions require the absolute best submarine capability available, Seawolves get tasked. Los Angeles class. The fast attack submarines that formed the Silent Service's main force for decades, tracking Soviet submarines during the Cold War and launching Tomahawk strikes in every conflict since. These are being retired as Virginia-class boats replace them, but dozens remain in service, providing anti-submarine warfare and strike capability that most navies can't match with their newest platforms. Ohio-class SSGN. 4 ballistic missile submarines were converted to carry 154 Tomahawk cruise missiles and Navy SEALs instead of nuclear weapons. These became floating arsenals for conventional strikes and special operations platforms for covert missions. An Ohio-class SSGN sitting offshore represents more firepower than most countries possess in their entire military, all launched from a submarine that nobody knows is there. Ohio-class SSBN, 14 ballistic missile submarines carrying Trident missiles with multiple nuclear warheads, provide the most survivable leg of America's nuclear deterrent. These patrol in waters nobody discusses, maintaining the guaranteed second strike capability that makes nuclear war unwinnable. They're not invasion weapons. They're the strategic backstop that ensures conventional conflicts don't escalate into civilizational suicide. Columbia-class. The replacement for Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines represents the largest shipbuilding program in Navy history. These are being designed for one mission, carrying nuclear missiles while remaining undetectable for decades. The strategic deterrent cannot have gaps, cannot have failures, cannot be anything less than perfectly reliable. Moving on to the Air Force platforms that would establish air superiority and destroy enemy defenses. B. 2001. Raider. The next-generation stealth bomber is still early in development, but when it enters service, this will be the aircraft flying combat missions for the next 50 years. Designed from the beginning to penetrate advanced air defenses, the B-21 represents America's bet that stealth technology will continue dominating air warfare. Production numbers are classified, but the Air Force plans to buy at least 100, making this the backbone of future strategic bombing. B-2 Spirit. The flying wing that costs more than its weight in gold and can penetrate the most advanced air defense networks on Earth to strike high-value targets with precision weapons. 20 were built. Each one is treated like the strategic asset it is, deploying only for missions that justify risking a $2 billion aircraft. When B-2s launch from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, they can strike targets anywhere on Earth without landing, supported by aerial refueling that lets them stay airborne for 30-plus hours. B-1B Lancer. The supersonic bomber that was designed to penetrate Soviet airspace at low altitude now hauls massive conventional weapon loads for long-range strikes. These conduct close air support, interdiction, and strategic bombing with equal effectiveness. The Bone, everyone calls it that, carries more bombs farther than any other aircraft in the inventory, though keeping these aging bombers flying requires maintenance crews working around the clock. B-52H Stratofortress. This bomber first flew in 1952 and is scheduled to remain in service until 2050, making it a century-old design still dropping ordnance in active combat. Nothing else carries that much payload that far, which is why the Buff keeps getting upgrade programs instead of retirement ceremonies. Modern precision weapons launched from standoff range mean B-52s don't need to overfly targets. They launch cruise missiles from international airspace and let the weapons do the penetrating. F-22 Raptor, the air superiority fighter that dominates air-to-air combat so thoroughly its biggest problem is not having peer adversaries to fight. Stealth, supercruise, thrust vectoring, and sensor fusion create advantages that fourth-generation fighters can't overcome with numbers or tactics. Only 187 were built, because production ended before the program delivered everything it promised. But those 187 Raptors represent air dominance that no other nation can match. When F-22s are airborne, enemy aircraft die without seeing what killed them. F-35A Lightning II. The Air Force variant of the Joint Strike Fighter brings fifth-generation capability to tactical aviation, in numbers the F-22 never achieved, with over 600 in service and hundreds more on order. F-35As are becoming the standard fighter for American and Allied air forces. These aren't trying to dogfight. They're using stealth and sensors to kill enemies before visual range combat is even possible. F-15EX Eagle II. The newest variant of a fighter that's never lost in air-to-air combat takes the proven F-15 airframe and packs it with modern avionics, weapon systems, and capabilities. It's designed to complement fifth-generation fighters by carrying more missiles and operating at lower cost while still going toe-to-toe with advanced threats. The Air Force is buying these because all stealth all the time is financially unsustainable, and the F-15 platform keeps proving it's still relevant 50 years after introduction. F-15C/D Eagle. The air superiority fighter that went over 100 combat kills without a single loss in air-to-air combat. Even after decades of service, upgraded F-15Cs remain some of the most capable interceptors in the inventory. These are being retired as F-35 aircraft replace them, but their combat record speaks for itself. F-15E Strike Eagle, the two-seat multi-role variant that excels at deep strike missions and close air support while maintaining air combat capability. These have been dropping precision weapons on targets from Iraq to Afghanistan to Syria for 30 years, proving that mission flexibility and payload capacity matter as much as cutting-edge technology. F-16 Fighting Falcon, the lightweight fighter that became the most numerous combat aircraft in American service and dozens of Allied air forces. Over 2,000 serve in the U.S. inventory alone, handling everything from air superiority to close air support to suppression of enemy air defenses. The Viper keeps getting upgraded because the basic design is sound, and building replacements for every F-16 would cost hundreds of billions. Nobody wants to spend A-10C Thunderbolt II, the flying tank that Air Force leadership keeps trying to retire and ground troops keep demanding be kept in service. That 30mm GAU 8 cannon sounds like God ripping a phone book in half, and close air support missions in Afghanistan and Iraq prove the A-10 delivers effects that fast movers can't replicate. It's slow, it's ugly, and it's completely dedicated to one mission: turning enemy ground forces into smoking craters. A C-130J Coast Rider, the gunship that turns C-130 cargo planes into flying artillery platforms with 105mm howitzers and precision-guided munitions. These own the night in permissive airspace, providing fire support with accuracy that ground forces can't get from traditional artillery. But they need air superiority to operate because gunships are about as maneuverable as school buses. F-117 Nighthawk, the stealth fighter that's officially retired but keeps appearing in training exercises because the airframes still work and stealth technology doesn't expire. These changed air warfare by proving low observable aircraft could penetrate air defenses that conventional aircraft couldn't survive. They're museum pieces that occasionally fly, teaching a new generation of pilots what first-generation stealth capability looks like. Moving on to support aircraft that make American air power globally deployable. C-5M Super Galaxy. When you need to move an Abrams tank halfway around the world, this is the only aircraft that can swallow it whole. The largest aircraft in American service, capable of intercontinental strategic lift that makes global power projection possible. These are expensive to operate and need proper runways, but nothing else moves that much weight that far. C-17 Globemaster III, the aircraft that revolutionized strategic airlift by combining long-range capability with tactical flexibility. C-17s can haul heavy equipment across oceans and then land on short, rough airstrips that would make other cargo planes turn around. 222 in service, operating from every theater where American forces deploy, proving that strategic reach plus tactical flexibility creates capabilities that enemies can't counter. C-130J Super Hercules, the modern Hercules with upgraded engines and avionics does everything from troop transport to special operations to aerial resupply. These operate from austere airstrips in conditions that would ground other aircraft, keeping American forces supplied in environments where logistics win wars. KC-46A Pegasus, the modern tanker replacing the ancient KC-135 fleet, brings updated avionics and defensive systems to aerial refueling. Development problems delayed deployment, but Pegasus tankers are now operational and taking over the long-term refueling missions that give American air power global reach. KC-135 Stratotanker, the tanker that's been refueling combat aircraft since Eisenhower was president, and somehow still flying. These provide the aerial refueling that lets fighters cross oceans, bombers strike targets thousands of miles from base, and American air power operate globally instead of regionally. The fleet is ancient, maintenance is a nightmare, but they keep flying because replacement programs take decades. E-3 Sentry AWACS, the airborne early warning aircraft that manages air battles from 30,000 feet with radar coverage spanning hundreds of miles. These coordinate strike packages, manage air defense, and provide battle management that turns individual aircraft into networked weapons systems. They're vulnerable and need fighter protection, but the situational awareness they provide is irreplaceable. E-7 Wedgetail, the replacement for aging E-3 AWACS platforms, brings modern sensors and networking that keeps airborne early warning relevant against evolving threats. Australia proved the concept, and America is finally buying them to replace platforms that have been flying since the Cold War. RQ-4 Global Hawk, the high-altitude drone that flies at 60,000 feet for over 30 hours, watching entire countries the way most UAVs watch neighborhoods. These replaced manned reconnaissance aircraft for strategic surveillance, because risking pilots makes no sense when robots can do the job, while covering areas the size of Illinois in single flights. MQ-9 Reaper, the armed drone that redefined targeted killing by providing persistent surveillance and strike capability from platforms that loiter for 16+ hours. Reaper crews sit in air-conditioned trailers in Nevada, watching targets in Yemen, Afghanistan, or Somalia, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. This is modern warfare, surgical, remote, and emotionally disconnected from the violence it delivers. Moving on to the Army platforms that would follow air and naval forces. M1A2SE PV-3 Abrams, the current variant of America's main battle tank, packs targeting systems, armor packages, and firepower that make it the most capable tank in American service. That 120mm smoothbore gun can punch through anything on tracks, and composite armor with reactive tiles provides protection that saved countless crews. The problem is weight. 70 tons means strategic airlift is difficult, and fuel consumption is measured in gallons per mile, not miles per gallon. M10 Booker, the mobile protected firepower platform, solving a problem the Army's had for decades. How to get serious direct fire support to light infantry without deploying 70-ton Abrams tanks. At 38 tons with a 105mm gun, the Booker provides punch with deployability, giving airborne and light units firepower they've never had before. M2A4 Bradley. The latest Bradley variant brings upgraded armor, improved targeting, and modern electronics to an infantry fighting vehicle that's been carrying troops and killing tanks since the 1980s. That 205 Bushmaster chain gun and TOWL missiles make Bradleys legitimate threats to anything short of main battle tanks, while troop compartments keep infantry protected until dismount. Stryker family. The wheeled armored vehicle family that gives the Army rapid deployment and tactical mobility, without the logistics burden of tracked vehicles. Strykers come in variants carrying infantry, mounting 30 cannons, launching anti-tank missiles, providing mobile command posts, and evacuating casualties. They're not fighting tank-on-tank battles. They're providing protected mobility for formations that need to move fast and fight immediately. JLTV, the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle that replaced Humvees by actually being designed for modern threats instead of having armor bolted on. As an afterthought, these provide protection against mines, IEDs, and small arms fire while maintaining mobility that over-armored Humvees lost. Every branch operates these because protected mobility at the tactical level isn't optional anymore. HIMARS, the high-mobility artillery rocket system that changed ground warfare by putting devastating long-range fires on a truck that can be anywhere, strike targets 80-plus kilometers away, and displace before counter-battery fire arrives. Ukraine proved what HIMARS can do against a conventional military. Precision strikes that destroy command posts, ammunition dumps, and logistics nodes from beyond response range. M270 MLRS, the tracked variant carrying twice the rockets of HIMARS and operating with heavy armored formations. Slower to deploy, harder to move strategically, but when sustained rocket fire is needed, M270s bring the volume. M10 9A7 Paladin. The latest self-propelled howitzer variant brings improved automation and modern fire control to artillery that's been supporting ground forces since the 1960s. These can shoot and scoot, delivering precision fires before enemy counter-battery radar tracks them. M77 7A2. The lightweight 155 howitzer that can be slung under helicopters or dropped from aircraft to support airborne and light infantry. These provide fires where heavier artillery can't reach, hitting targets 30 kilometers away with precision-guided rounds. Moving on to rotary wing aviation. AH-64E Apache Guardian. The latest Apache variant with improved sensors, networking, and weapons brings capabilities that earlier models couldn't match. These hunt tanks with longbow radar and Hellfire missiles, provide close air support with 30 chain guns, and coordinate with drones for targeting. When Apaches are overhead, enemy armor dies. UH-60M Blackhawk. The modernized utility helicopter doing everything from troop transport to medical evacuation to special operations insertion. Blackhawks have been the Army's workhorse for 40 years because they're reliable, versatile, and survivable. When soldiers need to move by air, Blackhawks get them there. CH-47F Chinook. The heavy-lift helicopter that moves artillery, supplies, and everything else that's too heavy for Blackhawks. Those distinctive tandem rotors have been hauling cargo since Vietnam, and the latest F model brings modern avionics to a platform that's fundamentally sound. HH-1Z Viper. The Marine Corps attack helicopter with modern sensors and weapons provides fire support for expeditionary operations. These operate from amphibious assault ships and forward bases, supporting Marines with the kind of responsive fires that fixed-wing aircraft can't always provide. MH-60, the special operations variant equipped for missions that conventional Blackhawks weren't designed to handle. Night vision, defensive weapons, and specialized equipment let these insert special forces teams into denied territory. MH-47G, the special operations Chinook, with extended range, aerial refueling, and all the modifications needed for deep penetration missions. These get special forces teams and their equipment into places where conventional helicopters can't operate. MH-6 Littlebird, the tiny helicopter that special operations uses for urban raids and precision insertions. Small enough to land on rooftops, fast enough to get in and out before reaction forces respond. Exactly what you need when the mission is surgical rather than conventional. Moving on to Marine Corps specific systems. F-35B Lightning II, the short takeoff vertical landing variant that lets Marines operate 5th-generation stealth fighters from amphibious assault ships and austere forward bases. This brings capability that was science fiction a generation ago. Stealth aircraft operating from ships that aren't supercarriers, providing air support in expeditionary operations. ACV, the amphibious combat vehicle replacing Vietnam-era AAV-7s with modern protected mobility for ship-to-shore operations. These provide Marines with survivability improvements that make beach landings less suicidal than they used to be. Moving on to missiles and strategic weapons. Tomahawk, the subsonic cruise missile that's been the go-to weapon for precision strikes since Desert Storm. Ships and submarines carry these for targets over 1,000 miles away, delivering 1,000-pound warheads with accuracy measured in meters. 4,000 in inventory means sustained strike campaigns are possible. JSM and LRASM. The stealthy cruise missiles that let aircraft strike heavily defended targets from 200 plus miles away. JASM hits land targets. LRASM kills ships. Both do it with low observable technology that makes interception extremely difficult. Minuteman III. The land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles, carrying nuclear warheads and forming one leg of America's nuclear triad. These aren't invasion weapons. They're the strategic deterrent ensuring conventional wars don't escalate. Trident II D5. The submarine-launched ballistic missiles carrying multiple nuclear warheads and providing the most survivable leg of America's nuclear deterrent. 14 Ohio-class SSBNs patrol carrying these, maintaining the guaranteed second strike capability that makes nuclear war unthinkable. Moving on to small arms. M4A1, carbine, the standard infantry rifle across all services, provides reliable 5.56 mm firepower in a compact package that works in any environment. Modular rails let soldiers mount optics, lasers, and accessories for any mission. M16A4, the full-length rifle variant that some units still issue for the improved accuracy that longer barrels provide. These are being phased out as M4s become universal, but plenty remain in service. M27IAR, the infantry automatic rifle that Marines adopted for better accuracy than belt-fed M249s. These provide sustained fire with precision that saws can't match. M249 SAW, the squad automatic weapon that's been providing belt-fed firepower since the 1980s. Some units are replacing these with M249s remain in service because sustained automatic fire still matters. M240, the medium machine gun in 7.62 mm NATO that provides devastating firepower at ranges where 5.56 mm loses effectiveness. Every branch operates these on vehicles in defensive positions and as crew-served weapons. The legendary .50 caliber heavy machine gun that's been in service since 1933 and shows no signs of retirement. Vehicle-mounted, aircraft-mounted, or on tripods, the M2 delivers long-range heavy firepower that's still unmatched. M11 0A1 CASAS. The compact semi-automatic sniper system gives designated marksman precision capability in 7.62 mm with rapid follow-up shots. This replaced multiple older platforms with one system that does everything they did better. M210 ESR. The enhanced sniper rifle in .300 Winchester Magnum gives Army snipers extended range and power beyond what 7.62 mm provides. Mech 13 Mod 7. The Special Operations Sniper Rifle in .300 Winchester Magnum provides extreme range capability for targets beyond 1,000 meters. Barrett M107. The .50 caliber anti-material rifle that destroys vehicles, disables equipment, and engages targets over a mile away. When infantry needs to destroy something big, Barrett rifles deliver. The 40 mm grenade launcher that attaches to rifles or operates standalone provides indirect fire capability at the squad level. M3 MAAs. The Carl Gustaf recoilless rifle gives infantry devastating anti-armor and anti-structure capability with multiple ammunition types for different targets. Javelin. The fire-and-forget anti-tank missile that revolutionized infantry anti-armor capability. These cost over $200,000 per shot and kill any tank on Earth, with top attack profiles that hit where armor is weakest. AT-4. The disposable rocket launcher that gives every squad anti-armor capability without the cost of javelins. These work against light vehicles and structures even if they can't kill heavy tanks. Stinger. The shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missile that threatens helicopters and low-flying aircraft, providing infantry with organic air defense. That covers every major weapon system in America's complete arsenal, as of 2026. The question wasn't whether America has the weapons to invade anywhere on Earth. The budget, technology, and deployability speak for themselves. The question is whether any nation could actually stop them. The answer depends entirely on political will, distance from American bases, and whether nuclear weapons enter the equation. Conventional forces? No military on Earth can match American firepower, technological superiority, logistics capability, and combat experience across all domains. Simultaneously, China has numbers. Russia has nuclear weapons and a massive land army degraded by Ukraine. But power projection globally, sustained operations indefinitely, and the ability to deploy overwhelming force anywhere within weeks. That capability belongs exclusively to the United States, and the gap between America and everyone else isn't closing. It's widening with every new platform, every upgraded system, and every $1 billion that gets added to a defense budget larger than the next 10 countries combined.